So let's talk about the Facebreaker. I got pretty obsessed with the possibilities of the Facebreaker when the trailer for Return of the Ancients dropped. I thought these sounded really cool. Just the idea of being able to upgrade this fist weapon by defeating bosses just seemed like a really fun upgrade mechanic. But then the idea that it also enables mace skills while unarmed. And I got very curious about the possibilities of what that meant for a monk. And then they showed Fists of Stone for the martial arts ascendancy. And that meant every unique could be interpreted into some different thing for the monk. So I really wanted to see what the Facebreaker would be like on the monk with Fists of Stone. And it turns out it's really wild. It adds this trigger skill that's just there for everything you do. And it, whenever you heavy stun, it causes a big explosion that can heavily break armor. And that complements Mace abilities very nicely. So between that and it becoming intelligence-based instead of strength-based, there's just a lot of interesting scaling here. This thing's a build disruptor. Like, you can't really use it unless you want to build around it completely, and I wanted to build around it completely. I definitely had some bumps on the road getting here, but I think I found something that is fairly budgetary. I think this is a relatively cheap build. Like, you can maybe get everything I've got. 80 divine or less, maybe. I've got a fairly cracked out ring that might be kind of pricey. So, we'll see. Also, prices fluctuate, so don't trust me on that number anymore. But I just like the fact that you can be actually unarmed as the monk and fulfill that kind of classic Dungeons and Dragons fantasy of just using your fists as weapons. So we are taking a lot of advantage of weapon switching and some Druid tech. We are going to use Fissure and Sunder in hollow form to kind of get a lot of results. So, Facebreaker here, of course, it gets it reinterpreted. So, Fist of Stone, if you find one that scales better than, like at 1% to 4 strength, you won't necessarily get that when you use Fist of Stone. So, don't worry too much about those base stats on it. I believe the extra range on melee will get added some stuff, which mixed results. I think that does help us in some ways, just increasing our area coverage. Boss's face is broken. I think that may carry over, so if you can find a really good roll on that one, maybe it'll happen. But we really need lots of intelligence. And for both the unarmed damage as extra fire damage per 5 intelligence, and then we get area of effect as well for every 10 intelligence. So we benefit from stacking a lot of intelligence. A nice quick way to do that is using Astramentus. And if you're going to use the Astramentus, it's a pretty good idea to use Jack of all trades, which puts you in an interesting position because now you're wanting to kind of balance your investments of stats instead of just going all in on intelligence. And tell you what, it is a lot easier to build up all 3 stats to a high level than just go all in on one. Especially as a martial artist, we don't have a lot of things that are just scaling up one stat inherently too much. Like, this complements, because the kind of bonus we get 2% per 5 of our lowest attribute. So if we have 250 per 5, so 250 divided by 5 by 2. No, that's wrong, right? We get a 2% per 5. Yeah, that's it. That's right. So 250 divided by 5, and then that's times 2. So that's effectively, that's a 100% damage bonus. Did I do that right? Oh god, wait. Jack of all trades, 2% per 5 of low stat. So, yeah, 250 divided by 5, 250 divided by 5 times 2. Yeah, it's 100% bonus. So you're getting a 100% damage bonus from that, as opposed to going all in on intelligence. Let's say you had 500. That would give you a 100% extra fire damage bonus. which there's a mix of scaling that's going on here, but being able to mix the two, you come out far ahead because you're still getting a 50% extra fire damage bonus and then 100% damage bonus from Astramentus. So I mean, maybe my math's off on that, but it's also I feel like it was very easy to hit this too. Maybe you'd be ahead if you went all in on intelligence damage wise, but this made life a lot easier. And we get some very nice area coverage already. Sunder is kind of massive, and at 250, we're still getting a 25% area of effect bonus to holoform and some of our other things. So it's still handsome area bonus. We're doing just fine. Because we lack weapons and because we're melee, we need, and because also we have the gloves taken up by the Facebreaker, which can also provide us big damage bonuses to our attacks, but unfortunately, it's dedicated to this. You have some nice runes you can get into this thing. This is sort of insane. You don't have to have Facebreakers like this. This is double corrupted, but I'm obsessed with these, so of course I'm going to go for it. Double corrupting to get an extra socket and getting break increased armor works really nicely. It definitely complements what we're doing here. So, and if you can get attack speed and the physical damage on it, that'll make more of a difference than any kind of like extra face broken damage or like any kind of scaling you could possibly modify otherwise. The extra socket and double corrupting, really good results. But also double corrupting is kind of scary. So if you could just get double sockets, like, and that seems to be usually cheaper on the market. So because of that, we kind of go in heavy on rings. And since the amulet's taken up by this as well. But the rings, really, we need big damage bonuses. Funnily enough, I actually don't have a big damage bonus on this one because we also do a lot with mana. We have 3 layers of defense we're playing with in terms of like life, energy shield, mana. We're gonna take between a third and almost half of all damage is gonna go to our mana. So it's actually pretty worthwhile to have a little bit of investment in maximum mana, and this happened to have increase in maximum mana and by percentage and a nice roll. And I needed these resistances to hit the cap, so we're kind of stuck with this thing at the moment. In an optimal world, we'd have double of this. This one's super insane. It's really wild, and that mana regeneration is quite nice, and the chaos resistance is cool. Because we're kind of low on chaos resist currently. In optimal world, we maybe have more. But mana regen also complements very nicely the kind of things we're going to be doing here. Lots of damage rolls. If you can get 4 damage rolls, that's really what you want. And you really need ingenuity after that. You can just get a really nice belt, that's great. But ingenuity amps up in it's like a diet ritualist kind of effect, but it can increase these things by 30% or more, your equipped rings. So if you can get a Ring of Calandra, that can also kind of complement what you're doing, because you could then just get one really expensive ring and put the other one in there. I kind of need the versatility instead, but if I was trying to push just damage and nothing else, then I would just put the Calandra in the left here. But the ingenuity increases bonuses gained from the left and right ring. They roll differently per slot, but it can roll a bit higher than this as well. So this was corrupted for some extra maximum energy shield, which is really nice. Boots aren't nothing. You don't need anything crazy for the boots. You might need something different from this. You maybe want to go in on armor more instead of evasion. I have kind of weird defensive stats, I must admit. Armor and evasion are kind of insanely low, but I have other interesting forms of defense going on, so it helps me survive, and I have very high recovery if kind of actively managed. So, but boots kind of just hit whatever, get that 35% movement speed, get those other stats you need, maybe get a little bit of life regen. You know, that's what's up. Vestige of Darkness. This thing's just so fun and cool. It's just the coolest helmet in the world. For one, just we gotta do a lot of physical damage, so we can very much take advantage of the chill and freeze buildup. So and this is good crowd control, and that adds to your survivability. It's part of why this is maybe you're not a glass cannon at all, but you're not a tank either. You gotta watch for mechanics and dodge. You can't just stand and stuff. Don't get completely surrounded, you know. You can do a lot of damage. If you get surrounded, kill things. You deal a lot of damage. Don't just stand in it. But when enemies get near you, they're blinded. We're going to have a lot of stuff in our passive tree that also makes us blind all the time. We've got some stuff in our build that takes a lot of advantage of blind effects. So the strength and intelligence, that's just we need stats. We need stats. So that helps us as well. And then, you know, if you can get it corrupted to get an extra socket, then you can put some nice stuff in it. Yes, this is twice corrupted, but I'm kind of obsessed with double corrupting things. It's super fun. So this one's really gacked out. We need power charges. So getting maximum power charges, getting a chance to power charges, gain additional power charge. Skills have a chance to not remove charges, but still count as consuming them. All that is really helpful. So, and the Bodok is kind of insane. Bodok deals lots of damage, actually. And there's some weird sort of hidden tech on the market. If you set the minimum corrupted value to 2 on this affix, the Bodok haunts your presence, then you could find one that attacks twice as often. Weird bit attack. Then there's the Gloom Shelter, Sacrificial Regalia. Sacrificial Regalia. You're just looking for one of these things. It doesn't have to be the specific name. It's just a rare. But this has nice defensive stats, a bit of a premium for the level and values. You get a lot of each, considering. It's a lot of energy shields for how much evasion and armor you get as well, which can kind of complement the weird sort of stuff I'm doing here. Usually people just go all in on one sort of defense. We're kind of spread out in a weird sort of way, but it sort of works for us. More importantly than those interesting sort of defensive benefits, you know, try to get 2 sockets on the thing. This one's not corrupted, funnily enough, even though it complements corrupted skills. But this gets important at level 90 because +1 level to all corrupted skill gems. In the long run, you want to corrupt every single skill gem you've got because that can get you +1. Quality, you can also get quality bonuses, and sometimes that's nice for some skills, but you can only get that to like +3% more. It is way more important to get +1 skill level, especially for your damage dealing abilities. Very specifically, we're in a very nice position with Sunder because we don't need sockets on this. So we don't need to use a gem cutter of any kind on this, since it's going right into here. So we can stack up on as many level 20s as these as you can. Usually that's a few divine on the market, but then you don't have to burn really expensive gem cutters on this thing. So it increases your odds of getting that +1 corrupt, and then the Sacrificial Regalia will immediately give you another +1. So you'll go from 650 attack damage on Sunder to 758, which is huge. Massive, massive bonus to damage there. So, and after a while, I'll have, I think that's the only corrupted skill gem I have currently, but in the long run, this is going to do wondrous things. And skill level bonus is a little bit elusive, especially for this build. Melee isn't as dependent on it, but also doesn't find it quite as often on their gear. But we don't have a proper weapon, so we can't get the melee bonus you would get on your weapon, which is like 3, maybe 4. I might be misremembering, but yeah. So I think that about covers it on the gear. I'm not using anything crazy special for. This is about the most special thing I've got, but charms are just kind of whatever. I've got this for corruption. I've got this for freeze. I just have a really nice blue flask. That's all corrupted to get a little bit more bonus. Increased amount recovered, increased charges. Just a really, really beefy life flask. And then we've got, this is pretty special. This might be a little funkier to find, but this flask cannot be used, but it applies its effects constantly. 76 reduced amount recovered. This effectively just gives us fairly massive mana regen on top of what we do. And since a lot of damage goes to our mana, it kind of helps a lot to just have super beefy mana regen. And we can take it to kind of weird place. It doesn't quite work on controller. The stats are going to be wrong. Yeah, it's not showing the proper mana there. But mana regen shoots up to 250 plus per second. 280 or more, honestly, it gets way up there when you are just running around. And then you use Devour, and you get a few other effects going, and your mana recovers like that, which is pretty huge. So we're really treating everything as life meters. Like mana, energy shield, life, combined, not bad values. Those values are not bad. You know, man is constantly taking damage, but that recovers pretty quickly. Energy shield recovers pretty quickly. Life has some recovery, and we have a lot of healing effects too. So we manage. We kind of have like such massive recovery, and we manage to spread our damage out just enough. Like even though we have low armor, low evasion, we have pretty decent resistances, with the exception of chaos. 20% still better than 0. So we're doing okay. There's also, I think, an adjustment I need to make, but in the build it doesn't say that. So Cackling Companions just comes from the Hesage Claw. We slap this on kind of for shits and giggles. It sort of doesn't matter that much about the talisman, but this thing is useful. So these guys are just here to die. That's what we set them up to do. They deal fire damage with Infernal Legion by just running around, and then they explode when they're at 15% health. We use this to reduce their life even more, but they also take damage for us while we're in our Wyvern form, typically. Werewolf either. And when we're in that mode, it's like buff recovery mode if we're transformed. It's purely utilitarian. So we're kind of meant to be tougher and recovering at that time. So this is nice, and it reduces its health so they die faster. This is the one that's like less essential. I'm getting kind of fancy here throwing that in here. You can definitely have, there's like a different one that makes them deal more damage and take more damage. You can put that one in instead, but Essence Harvest, we use this. Since these guys die, this gives us a nice amount of mana recoup when they expire. If you can get Amannamu's Tithe, it's sort of incredible. It then makes these Cackling Companions really worth having expire and take into combat and take damage for you, because the Abyssal modifiers are pretty gacked. And these things, you can maybe even replace Essence Harvest with Duration if you're wanting to lean into these super hard. I don't know if that would work. I might just be talking out my ass. But the Abyssal modifiers, there's maybe like maximum 3 Abyssal modifiers game this way. I'm not sure how many Abyssal modifiers there are, but this is like Diet Headhunter. These effects are crazy. There's a big aura. There's like exploding abyssal debris. It's pretty cool. Very powerful, very potent, and just makes the whole thing fun. So this is just a blast, especially like with full support transformation we're kind of going with. This works very, very nicely for what we're doing. Holoform. So Sunder, like I just went on and on about that, but this gives you very nice coverage, and it causes lots of stun. It causes extra shockwaves per enemy hit, up to 7 enemies. So there's just like a lot of like redundant area coverage that's fantastic. And we're going to complement this super hard with Volcanic Fissure. That's actually going to be the one we're going to be using more, just to fill the area, and it has very good reach and little setup, and can kind of have decent damage, even with the small value it's got. The fact that you're layering all of these, but even though it says attack damage 166%, that's a little bit misleading, because you're also slamming each time you use this ability. And if you set up lots of fissures, then you're also kind of like triggering all that damage again every time. So there's this ramping up even as you're using it and spamming it. It's wonderful. And then Sunder takes advantage of it by like slamming the shit out of the ground again as well. But then causing like sundered armor and all these other wonderful debuffs. And you can just lean in. Heft. Rage 3 is really useful. For one, that's just tons of attack speed, and these are slow-ass mace abilities. So that attack speed's really nice, and when we reach maximum, we are going to use Lunar Blessing, spend some rage on that, and get a whole bunch of extra cold damage on our attacks. We're not going to be using Moonbeam at all, but that's fine. The almost 70% cold damage bonus is totally bananas. So that is just fine. So Rage is great for that. Blindside is nice. We have a lot of things helping us get in the passive tree. We get a crit chance bonus and a crit damage bonus in the passive tree as well. So this is just complementing that without any downsides. And then we've got heightened charges to which I believe in the tree we might have something. Yes. It can get pretty wild when we combine some of our other effects in the tree. This is like critically hitting, kind of. Being able to double how many we're using. So double the jutsu guys popping out. It's pretty great. It's pretty great when that happens. And if we get our attack speed up, that increases the chances of it just happening more often. Not the literal actual base chance, but just we'll see it more often if we can do it more often. It just seems like an obvious thing to say, but I'm just saying it. That's why we're kind of leaning on attack speed in a nice way. Hollow Focus is extraordinary. We are using that as the primary thing we're going to devour. We are going to end up calling normal enemies with Devour sometimes too, but really it's just this will always be in supply. This bell is going to appear constantly every 2 seconds or possibly less even, and it counts as heavy stunned, cold, critted every time you hit it. So you can have so many different things trigger off of hitting these bells. It's extraordinary. And then they also explode, and you can kind of amplify what that's doing. And the shockwave causes a nice amount. Can't cause stun buildup? Wait a minute. Let me change something here. After an additional 1 hit. Oh, let me change this. Interesting. Shit. You know what? Let's see. What could Hollow Focus do? Armor Break could help us spread blinds pretty easily. But also, this could cause, like, I wonder. Let's try this. And cause stun buildup. Okay, let's try that again. We put some Armor Break on here. So, outside of the buffs we get from just killing this thing with Devour or Pounce or striking it with Rend, like, we can always get whatever buffs we need by attacking this thing. The shockwave from it can also kind of be decent. That's 237% damage is like not bad. So we put some Arbor Break, Magnified Area, and some Mana Leech on it because this is physical damage, attack damage. And these can stack. So when they're close together and you make them explode with Sunder, you're triggering all these explosions together. People kept thinking like this thing is not just to give you like something to hit when you need a little buff. It's also there to explode like a landmine. So there's ways you could take advantage of this. Maybe throwing in half might be a better idea than leech. We need mana from some things. So I've got this in here. Heft would be kind of interesting to put. You know what? I swear I didn't think I'd be doing this. Okay. Bam. Wait, it makes like no damage difference, really? Oh. Okay. Okay. Then I don't change what I said. Armor Break, Magnified Area. This can cause some nice effects. Get some Mana Leech. Get some extra Armor Break. And Endurance Charges can be useful. We've got... Devour also does this because we have Charge Regulation. we kind of want all 3 charges so we can take advantage. Huge skill speed, 25% on top of all the attack speed bonuses. We're cracking out way faster than we would have otherwise. Critical hit chance bonus while we got power charges, which we constantly have. And we need that crit chance desperately. And then armor, evasion, and energy shield when we have an endurance charge, which is nutty. This is also where we put like little spare abilities to help us support ourselves, a little bit of life regen, and this life on kill, which is useful. We'll be killing lots of stuff. Staggering Palm sends us flying around. Flicker Strike style at times. Also, this seems to proc the projectiles once you've got that buff going after calling an enemy or stunning an enemy. What counts as quarterstaff attacks, like I think Hollow Form seems to count, and for some reason Fissure is too. I don't know why, but these projectiles seems to kind of pop off of anything you do. So that's sort of cool. And then we just set this up, since we're breaking armor with it, we're just making it a lot better at it. And then this huge explosion. Since it shows us when to heavy stun a target, we're going to have this runic shockwave trigger as well, which is great. Extra little boom booms. We're causing lots of boom booms everywhere. Volcanic fissure, branching fissures, magnified area, prolonged duration. Because these are really their rapid attacks. These are there to be set up as fast as possible. And additional aftershocks from being triggered like that is just, that can be really useful, especially when we start stacking all those fissures. This damage is, it's elusive. That it is truly, it does a lot more damage than it says here, even based on the DPS. Having all these things stacked together, it's very, very good. Lunar Blessing, we are just, exposure's nice. Cold Mastery just to get it up a little more. Rage to return some of it back, and then prolonged duration, because since it's on a bit of a cooldown, we want that buff to last as long as possible. So we spend as much rage as we can to get that duration up, and with this, you're maybe looking at 13 seconds or more of the buff, and when you've got some cooldown recovery going with like maybe 5 seconds between not having this buff going, if you're really tending to it nicely. So you can keep the uptime on that pretty easily. Blasphemy for repulsion, because we like boom booms. This repulsion wave. So fragility's cool. So hitting these enemies curse. Yeah, target an area. So it's a curse going. It's an aura. So stuff in this aura, this fragility curse, it just explodes constantly and causes knockback. And oh yeah, when fragility is inflicted, they can be stunned more easily based on how much fragility they're hit with. So 10% more stun buildup on hit per fragility on the target. And I'm not sure what the maximum on fragility is. So this helps. This helps trigger smithereens and all these other things that we're doing. It's awesome. It's one more boom boom on top of all the big boom booms we're doing, and fragility fucking rules. So, focus curse, magnified area, hex bloom, curse ground. So I believe this helps curse them more quickly, more of an area of it. This causes it to proliferate like a disease, and then I think while we're walking around supported skills, curse skills area, I don't know, it's just kind of in there. Psych skills, apply in an aura around me. So I don't know. It might be creating curse down ground. It might not. We're having fun with it at the moment, though. I'm not the biggest guru on the game. I just sort of slapped everything curse related I could. Yeah, that's sort of just what I did. I just slapped everything curse related I possibly could. I don't know if curse ground's like actually doing anything. The proliferation definitely is. Combat frenzy. So 10% chance to gain a charge, gain additional charge. Oh yeah, that's from quality. Gain a frenzy charge when you freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy. No more than once every 6.3 seconds. We're freezing everything constantly. We actually, well, no, don't we shock? Yeah. Freeze, pinning, lots of different things count as pins. Our stuns count as pins, I believe. They are also light stunned when they become pinned. Once it's built at pin threshold, certain skills and effects build up to target counts as a Pin targets count as immobilized. Well, I don't know. Categorically, I'm not sure. But we definitely get this all the time because of the Vestige of Darkness. So we're getting Frenzy a lot. And we can have a chance to grant additional charge, to grant additional random charge. We can generate charges, giving a chance to generate additional charge when they do. So this thing can give us plenty of Frenzy charges. And when we get happen to get a power charge with it, we kind of win a silly amount all in on these empowered sparks. But then we're shocking stuff. We actually have quite a few things that kind of give us some guaranteed shock effects. We create some shock ground when we land. What is it? Using Pounce, I believe. Yeah, Charge Mark. This creates shock ground. So Pounce is here to also... It's kind of for when there's elite targets or big boys, or we're just trying to move around. Because when we hit a guy with it, we then gain this cold damage buff for a good while. Like, even more cold damage on top of what we're doing. Physical attack damage. There's some leech on top of leech mana and life hitting this guy. The charge mark for the shock effect, like I mentioned earlier. Gotta throw in some fissures. Why not? Get it, just let it stack on top of everything else we're doing. More fissures are better. And then Holy Descent. Consecrated Ground's nice. This is more healing. And it's just a zone of healing. 5% of your life every second. Hard to pass up. And especially when we're going very, like, support with these abilities. These things we use on our transformation to kind of move around and get some insane buffs. And then there's Devour, which I kind of talked about earlier. It's a lot of healing. And then... I had to mention the endurance charge. And then, when this culls, we're going to get Soul Drain going all the time. And this is recovered 12% of maximum mana over 4 seconds. It doesn't count as a recoup. That's not a leech. It's just an extra recovery. Pretty cool. This will happen whenever we use it on our Hollow Focus spells. Then Charge Profusion, get some extra charges. Thrill to Kill, which we get when we hit the bell. That's extra lightning damage when we call. And then Blazing Critical, which the bell always counts as a crit. So we get extra fire damage. We can really, when we really need to pour some gasoline on the fire, we can. We can hit pedal to the metal. Typically, for quick clearing, we can just Volcanic Fissure, fly around, use Staggering Palm to kind of like reach the next encounter, killing weaker enemies. Pounce can also kind of do that too. Oh, I even think I went over Wind Blast, but this can kind of work. But then when we really need to start doing it, Hollow Form's there, and then we can really use all these other things to kind of buff it up when we need to. But we can keep it simple when we need. And then there's also Wind Blast. I forgot to even mention. Armor Break, Blind, Stun. This is here just because it's insanely fast. We take a lot of advantage of dazing. The damage is actually not bad. And... we're cutting that damage in half, so it can just cost tons and tons of stun buildup. This is in case the boss. We kind of spam this when we want to stagger the boss. This is super effective at that. If we are really close, but Sunder is just not quite doing it, and we don't have the setup we need. This lets us beeline to stagger. When we really want to cause stagger, we can just spam this, which is great. Sometimes we just want to cause that stun as quickly as we can. And then we use this a few times, and then when we see that little glow, we can hit Staggering Palm. So Wind Blast really complements that nicely. Just gives us all these things. I threw on Life Leech. That's kind of the most optional thing here. But, get some healing. It's kind of nice sometimes. Especially if I'm spamming it. This can sort of help. So... yeah, outside of that, Way of the Stonefist, I kept mentioning that. Runic Meridians, it's kind of up to you. Way of the Mountain or Runic Meridians. On my budget, I think if you're on more of a budget, then you kind of use these to fill out gaps. There's also very interesting runes you can equip. So this extra mana regen, is nice, especially for the kind of mana stuff we're doing. So much of it's going to so much damage goes to our mana. So this kind of helps support our life. This Rune of Accumulation, again, more recovery, 1 mana per enemy hit. is a lot, actually. Even just 1 is big, big, big. And also the life per hit kind of adds up. So, and since we, damage goes to both of those, that's really helping our defenses survive. 5% more movement speed, so let's get to 40% move speed at least. And then we just got these for resistances to fill in some gaps on resistances. So truly, if you don't have issues hitting your resistances, then, like, if you can hit resistance cap on everything, then you might go for this. It is the better option in that scenario, because this gives you a boost to hollow form damage, hollow focus damage, but also equal to the damage enemy hits you would take, they would deal damage less or equal to 30% of your maximum life, deal 40% less damage. Stun threshold's nice. So this is nice, but in my opinion, it's more important to hit your resistance caps than use this, because those are going to be the things that kill you. This is nice for like fodder damage, smaller hits, but ultimately you really want the big hits, the things that are going to do more than 30 or 40% of your health in one strike. You need better defenses than that. This thing fails you in those regards, so it's a little bit weird, that defensive bonus. So then hollow focus, I kept talking about that. Those bells are crazy. And then hollow form, which is our ult. Really, we can really go insane when we start spamming that. So that's in terms of ascendancy. Then we start going down here. Again, attack speed, more stats. Hang through here. The increased damage if you dealt a critical hit. We get some days going, of course. Increased critical damage bonus if you gain a power charge recently. +1 to maximum charges, which is, we constantly have that going. That's green path. I'll get to those later. I'll talk about that. Chance to blind on hit. Also big attack damage bonus. Increased blind duration. Increased damage against the blinded. We're taking advantage. And then all this more blind chance to blind enemies. And then all this crit chance against blinded. And then, like, that is a 54% crit chance bonus. And then another 15% damage against blinded targets. Hollow palm technique. Because we do have quarterstaff abilities that we use. And this really makes them way beefier. And since we're going unarmed anyway, it just lets us use those abilities without having to worry about anything in our weapon slot. So we're going pretty unarmed anyway. If we have a quarterstaff equipped, we can't take advantage of Facebreaker, so we kind of need this to be able to take advantage of all our skills. What? This is kind of a handsome damage bonus, and it's sort of it's a unique sort of bonus. Increased attack damage while on full life. Low life, you're not. That's really a lot at low life, but we're not so worried about that one. We're trying not to stay at low life. Style bender. We always are causing elements. We're always causing chill and shock. So this increased armor break is huge. Physical damage is huge. We don't have too many multipliers at that. And then just more stats, which is useful. Chakra of Thought. So we're trying to have damage go to our mana anyway. So on the core path, we're picking this up. But more importantly, well, not on low mana, 15% attack speed. That's kind of worth just dipping over here. That is a huge attack speed bonus. Holy shit. And then this is just lots of wacky crit and damage bonuses. Crit chance, crit damage, crit chance. What was that? Increased damage if you critically hit. Yeah, just more of that. Maximum power charges. Increased critical damage if you consume a power charge recently. Crit chance. Base. Here's crit chance, but also a little bit of stuff helping the meta. But increased critical chance if you triggered a skill recently, which meta skill counts as that, but also Smash the Smithereens counts as that. So we get to that as well whenever we're kind of heavy stunning guys. Those are kind of wacky jewels. Just get whatever you can with your budget. Maybe don't worry about the things I'm doing. Oh, wait, don't I have... I don't know if I talked about this one way over here. Well, okay, so I do have... I guess I gotta talk about this. From Nothing, Diamond, Passes, and Zeltoth. So I do happen to have that. I guess we'll talk about this, because way over here. 25% chance when you gain a power charge to gain an additional power charge. Huge. Increased power charge duration. Increased maximum energy shield if you've consumed a power charge recently. Just 2 of those. So 20% increased maximum energy shield for consuming a power charge, which felt kind of cool. So Sometimes I think I should pick that up. But then also not. I don't do spells. I don't do spells. I don't do spells. Flavor chance. Huh. Increase mana regeneration while stationary. Doesn't that just kind of... That'd be useful if I didn't have the other thing that, like, kind of counteracted it. Anyway, this is useful. We like that one. And then these are cool. Anyway. So I guess I gotta address that one. And then we are going up here. It's for quite a few reasons. I mean, this is nice, but it's really to get this. The 50% increased maximum energy shield. That's a lot. And the slower... 20% slower to recharge. That's a bit of a delay, but we're kind of spreading out our damage so much. That's okay. We want the higher value desperately. And then I guess I'll also mention that when we're transformed, we do have weapon set 2 points moved. So while we're transformed, we get massive mana regen. The whole reason we don't want those stationary mana regen is because we have this 50% increased mana regen while moving. Because when we're transformed, we're generally moving around. We're using a lot of movement abilities. So this is all good shit. We do have rage. If you can get rage on melee hit on your jewels, like, that's great. These other effects are sort of insane, so don't worry about it. Get what you can with your budget. We are going to dip down here. That's very high level, though. You kind of don't need to worry about that one. So then we travel down here a bit. Get all these we daze constantly. The Wind Blast gets us daze guaranteed, and then we have large amounts of chance to daze anyway. This gets us crit chance against daze and damage against daze. Huge. Also, skills have a 10% to not remove charges, but still count as consuming them. That's right. So we have a 30% chance for that to happen with Fabled Stag. Also, the duration bonus is awesome. And then all this dexterity helps because we're doing stat stick stuff in a balanced way. But this, of course, as we're going in on crit, we want as much of this as we can. But the big thing is struck through. Because I know the wording, increased crit chance, attacks have a plus 1% to critical hit chance. So increased crit chance, Warframe does this. Like, you multiply crit your chance. Like, if you have a 5% crit chance, and then you have 10% increased critical hit chance, then that's a 5.5% chance. It's not a 15% chance. That's what that's saying. As opposed to, attacks have a plus 1% critical hit chance. That 5% would go to a 6%. And then that might get possibly multiplied after that point. Like 10% increased critical hit chance, then might be a 6.6 because this is then going into effect. It's very nice. So, we'll see. I don't know. The math in GGG games is pretty crazy. I guess I'll also talk about Path 2 stuff. So, mana regen, just picking this up. More and more mana regen for when we're transformed. This is weapon set 2 stuff. And then I think that covers... Oh, yeah. Here's a couple straight points. Attack speed, mana regen for while we're transformed. I think that covers all the setup in the skill tree. So that's the build. I'm going to... Oh my gosh. I'm definitely going to show off some footage of me going through and doing some gameplay while I'm kind of explaining some of this stuff. I think it might kind of complement. But I'm going to attach like a map run at the end of this footage to kind of show me just running through, doing one successfully, and seeing that like tier 15 is just... He melts some dudes at tier 15. Those enemies are not an issue at all. So, yeah. I am kind of showing what gear I'm rocking. I believe this is updated slightly from let me see. I think this has extra chaos resistance from what I showed in the video. I have a different chest piece and a different ring, but it's still the sacrificial regalia. So this is just so I don't have redundant irradiated maps for the tablets. I'm doing some ritual here. Mixed in. Radiated adds a little juice. It's a tier 15 map. Rare. I got 4 lives because of Atlas and Doriani. So, because that's how I like to roll. I'm running maps too rapidly to worry about death even. I have Omens of Amelioration. You want leveling advice? Get those. So I just start kind of blasting through. You might notice I roll a lot because I don't want to risk running. Getting knocked. You might have noticed that blue explosion. It looks like something almost coming from those blue explosions. Well, not those. That's repulsion. The rune on the ground. That's actually Fissure. It's a very interesting support rune that we've got in there. Spends runic ward to ancestrally boost Fissure. And it causes that interesting rune explosion, which is it's a ton of damage actually. If I was going to do anything to add a little more to this build, it'd be a way to generate more runic ward. I'm about to, yeah, here we go. I'm trying to plant the explosives. I think I might do a reset. No, I just went for it. And here you get to see it into effect. The Bodok's doing its thing. Those little shadow meteors, that's actually the Bodok haunting it. But I played a lot of fissures, and you can see me doing render to set up my damage, doing Devour, doing Lunar Blessing. There. I didn't even need it. Oh, there we go. On for the new pack. It's set up. It's just quite powerful. When you stack it up like that, every time you use it is also a slam, so it's triggering all the other fissures you planted down. So it ramps up even by itself. We have Holoform there just in case. We really want to give it some juice. Like that. It's beautiful when it's all going up. I'm also getting some very interesting abyssal modifiers you may notice. That's from Aminamo's Tithe. It's actually in the Cackling Companions. It's in the Hyena support. For my Talisman. Those are the guys that burn out very, very quickly. When they expire, I get an abyssal mod. That's why those little missiles are shooting out, that green aura. That's not the lightning bolts, but that's from other stuff. But the big, yeah, you have like 3 of those at a time. That's pricier though. That's kind of me being a little too fancy with the build. You don't need that. You're fine without that. It's cool though, and you can. It's one of those higher aspirational aspects of this build. But you don't have to do that. So this is a so this is a magic mob mixed in with a rare. So I had to spend a little more time buttering them up. Those guys went down. It's excessive, way excessive. Sometimes I do it just because I want to see it. Because it feels good. There we go. And that's how I really get power charges going. Get all those buffs. Because you're not wasting time while transformed. You kind of want to kill a little bit of time so the companions burn out and explode, and you get that abyssal modifier. You also get healing. Well, you get mana recovery, actually, the way we've got it set up. It's
something rare lies within.
Essence Harvest? Yeah. When the companions burn out, you get the abyssal modifiers, but Essence Harvest is really kind of what we're going for here. Gets us like lots of mana when we do that.
The world still holds surprises.
They also take a bit of damage for us when they're out there. There we go. And I get a divine orb for my troubles. So I gotta deal with that guy first. He's in the way of my treasure. And there we go. Divine orb is mine. So, it's not the most insane build in terms of speed or damage or even tankiness or recovery, but I think it's got a nice mix of everything. I think it plays in a very fun way. It takes advantage of a lot of interesting gameplay. I think it's shockingly tough for kind of low defenses. Especially this one, I sort of messed up a campaign choice in my build guide. There's going to be a different choice in there. I figured I might make that I did not, and even at that, I'm doing pretty well. Granted, I don't have to get mixed of mobs most of the time because I'm melee, but I also, if I really just want to get in there, I use staggering strike. It's there first, lots of speed. The projectiles are also nice, because they end up shooting out of my polyform guys, and which is a little surprising. The staggering palm blast trigger from maybe more things than it should. But it really helps you zip around. It helps you identify those folks to get you those heavy stuns that you need, which is great. The bells help, which you can kind of see what happens between repulsion, sunders aftershocks, fissures aftershocks. The runic ward explosions I've got in there. It's a lot of boom booms. There's a lot of different things triggering and causing damage here. And that's before even stacking up all the buffs that come with Devour. Devour gets us most of our power charges. Frenzy gets us a bunch of them randomly. But yeah, oh, there we go. That's the one with the Chaos Resist bonus. Oh, I guess this is really the gear review. Here's where we're really showing off. There we go. That has Chaos Resist on it. And that Chaos Resist bonus does get boosted because we have the Ingenuity. So it's more like 15% instead of 12 from that ring. Ooh la la. But we have over 50% Chaos Resist now, which is a pretty big deal. Makes us a lot tougher. One-shots become considerably more rare. See, when they stack up together, it works out nicely. Because Sunder has a limit to how many aftershocks it causes, but it's 7 enemies. You got 7 enemies stacked up together, and they're all kind of hitting each other. It's just very interesting how the damage ramps up. Very zone-based, interactive. A lot of different effects interacting to cause the damage it's causing. And yeah, sometimes we just use Wind Blast. Because it's just very, very fast. I'm just double checking here. Actually, I think that's a control thing. I might even fix that in a second. I think I'm going to remove Ritual from there. I just went down on the D-pad to be interact and nothing else. Ah, see. Staggering Palm just let us fly through that mob. Which is neat. Ooh, but I'm like, no, I don't want to just hop in the middle of those guys. I got a lot of buffs going though, and I get a bit braver. Yeah, Wind Blast when I'm just like trying to get it out there. Pounce. I should, yeah, I'm so juiced up. There we go. And everything's set up so nicely. I'm just like, just go, 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 go. Yeah, I'm pretty cracked out here. And I kind of know it. That's why I was like, just start the ritual. We're doing good. We're doing good. Yeah, absolutely nuke that wave. And then we had this here as well. We get a little more setup. I get a little worried because like, oh shit, am I gonna get surrounded? There we go. And this is actually I have devouring buffs going, and I have buffs from Rend. Call it. There we go. Those abyssal mods going. They're very nice. I love all orbs. I love corrupting gear. See, there's the big runic boom boom. See, when we're really just moving, we're not even bothering with hollow form. Fissure can do the job. Fissure can do everything we need. If it doesn't, we are set up to absolutely nuke with hollow form. Oh, this is me removing ritual. Yeah. There we go. Creature. Because I just want a single button dedicated for interaction. That I won't accidentally hit during combat. There we go. Sometimes Wind Blast just, you know, since it blinds, causes knockback, causes armor break, causes stun. It can trigger a bunch of our explosions. Smash the smithereens, repulsion, some of our aftershocks, just all kinds of things. It is just insanely fast. Nice range. And while we have a blinding aura, it's good for us to be able to blind also for when we're out of range of the boss and we need to hit him with some of the range stuff. That's what Wind Blast is there for. Clean. It's kind of hard to tell, but the Wind Blast, yeah, there you can see it pretty clearly. The Wind Blast from Staggering Palm do work when we we cast Fissure. Perform Fissure. They're attacks, not spells, so I don't know if you cast them technically. Oh, we're using Hollow Form. I believe they come out of the guys and you, the Wind Blast. It's a very interesting buff. Plus you get a little bit of that diet Flicker Strike without all the crazy budget, and it doesn't spend your power charges. I'm just always deferring stuff. I so rarely actually buy anything. Someday, I'll end up getting some goodies. I should have bought that Omen up there, instead of just deferring to the king. Oh, here we go. This boss fight would probably go faster, but there's a mechanic you end up having to do. But it's also kind of a chance to show me, like, burn his health down over and over.
Not yet.
So yeah, there's this crazy ballista. I'm just really laying it on thick.
Not yet.
There we go.
Now to the lever.
I'm just trying to get him. There you go. And we can shoot him again.
And again.
Pretty cool seeing that blue explosion once in a while. Runic Ward kind of takes a while to regen, so I'd like to see it more often. But yeah, there we go. Pretty darn effective. So you can check out my build on Mobalytics if you really want a full breakdown and all those details.